Up and Adam, 6 a.m. on your Wednesday morning, January the 29th, and just 16, and this might be pertinent after last night, just 16 days away from first pitch over at Founders Park. 16 days away from first pitch, 18 days away from the Daytona 500. And tomorrow, Josh Harris will join us, Darlington Raceway president, and it will be time to rev up the engines a little bit and start getting ready for the 2025 edition of the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. Well, Preston, this will be your third year. Am I right on that?
That is correct.
Third year. So now you've had your official kind of honeymoon in the series. It's time for you to really make an effort this year to go get a victory.
You know, they say the third year is the year that you really have to make some things happen. And the folks, my supporters and investors, the seat's heating up a little bit, you know?
Okay.
The seat's heating up a little bit. They feel like I need to make a little bit more of a charge. Last year I didn't quite get it done, even though we had a pretty solid performance. So there's some more eyes on me. The eyes are on the Preston Thorne race picking team this year.
Now, we don't make any picks tomorrow. What is it called? The Clash this weekend?
Clash. It's at Bowman this year.
Bowman Gray. Pretty cool. Kind of a little of a throwback there. But Josh Harris will join us tomorrow, and it'll be time for the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge to get underway. And in about 2 weeks, we'll obviously make some picks for the Daytona 500. You mentioned year 3 is kind of the year that you start to have to make a move.
That's right.
There's certain coaches that will probably be like, maybe not year 3, maybe year 2 and year 4, because last night, another loss for South Carolina in men's basketball. Last night, how do we sum it up? How do you open the program and sum it up? Because I want to say it was boring. It wasn't competitive. It was never, they were never blown out, but I never watched the game thinking, here we go, they're going on a run to make this game a game.
More of the same. That's how I would sum it up. More of the same. Same old song. Same story. However you wanted to say that. You could say it a lot of different ways. If you was walking through the cafeteria line and they just gave you those slop of peas and just put it down on your plate and you're like, okay, peas again. All right, cool.
Okay.
That's what, so yeah, there's a lot of different ways you could describe it. Entertaining, probably not at the top of that list.
No, it was, like I said, I never felt like South Carolina was completely blown out of the game. I never felt like they were really in the game. It's Georgia ran out to a very early lead, a big early lead, was up to 35-21 at the end of the first half, and then it was just kind of like, all right, guys, both sides, it felt kind of like in the locker room at halftime, they saw each other coming out of the tunnel. It was like, we got to play 20 more minutes. Don't let anybody get hurt. Let's not fight each other. Let's just go play 20 minutes of basketball here, and then we'll head back to Columbia, and you can head back to your dorms. And South Carolina now, this was the biggest fear for me, Preston Thorne. They are now below 500 for the season, 10-11, 8-game losing streak takes them from 10-3 to below 500, 0-8 in conference. Really, quite frankly, even watching Georgia last week, you should never be 0-8 in conference. You should be competitive, maybe 1-7, 2-6. Maybe we should say that they should be, given some of the losses that they suffered, but they're not. They're 0-8, and now I say the biggest fear for me, if you have a losing record overall, it feels like everything that was last year is a flash in the pan, lightning in a bottle, a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Does that make sense?
Well, I see where you was going with that. Yeah, that's one way to look at it, or somebody could look at it as this year was that. So, it depends on how you want to look at it. Competitive, those are relative words. They have been competitive in several games this year. I don't think last night's game was very, very competitive, but they have been competitive against some of the top teams in the conference. And it's time to break out one of our old games. Now, this is a very calculated decision here. Okay. 0-8 in SEC play. Okay? But is this a possible opportunity for us to say, at least we ain't Arkansas?
Yes, because
can we pull out at least we ain't Arkansas?
yes,
Even though
yes.
okay, so there we go.
Okay,
at least we ain't Arkansas.
And the reason being, even though Arkansas has a victory in conference,
one. A.
Exactly. That's what I
Stress
said.
the emphasis on A.
A, yeah. Not a few. No, the reason being is because, one, Arkansas basketball history far greater than South Carolina basketball history. So expectations, even for South Carolina off of an NCAA tournament, are far greater. And B, Arkansas supposedly got the savior. They got John Calipari. This was supposed to be, and now they could be in for a reckoning because they have the week off, coming off of a 65-62 loss to Oklahoma, another really bad loss for them. 65-62 loss to Oklahoma last Saturday. They got to go to Rupp Arena and see Kentucky and Mark Pope.
Oh, yes.
And a whole bunch of big Blue Nation that's going to be more than welcome to throw their arms out. Hey, Calipari, how you feel now?
Will he
come back into this building now?
Will he get an applause or will he get booed?
Kentucky basketball is both smart and arrogant. They might applaud him sarcastically, like, thank you for leaving us. See what you've done? We're better now. We're a top 15 team now without you. We didn't need you as at home. We're a national championship team. Thank you. Thank you. That game, by the way, will be a 9 o'clock game on Saturday night. But, yeah, truth be told, you're right. We can play that game because Arkansas – the ROI on the Calipari investment, it's negative. Sell, buddy, sell. 803-404-6100. So we'll get into that a good bit this morning and talk a little bit about what's going on there with South Carolina basketball in particular. And, again, last night – I'm trying to come up with the words to describe it. Boring is not the right word, but 71-60. And, again, it was just a game to me, 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. It was a game to me that was just like, I feel like I have to watch this. It was a chore to watch and not an enjoyment to watch. So we'll discuss that more. Also get into a little bit of what Lamont Paris had to say after the game last night. Also today, we'll get into some of what Jeremiah Donati had to say yesterday and discuss a little bit of what he said on the post-game show. He touched on basketball. And we'll break that down a little bit. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the phone lines. Ray wants to weigh in this morning. Ray, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning. Well, Preston, I tell you, I guess March the 1st when we played Arkansas Razorbacks, that'll be the battle for at least we aren't, you know. So I tell you, I've been a fan of Coach Paris and I still am, but that team was so unprepared last night, guys. I mean, we can blame players. Okay, yes, we can blame players, but you know, eventually we got to look at coaching too. If this thing doesn't turn around a little bit, that team was so unprepared. For God's sake, I do not understand why we have CMB out front 30 feet from the basket, setting picks and trying to make passes when he should be down in the block, getting fed the basketball and scoring. I mean, I noticed we did that a little more in the second half, but very unprepared, very sloppy. I don't know what we're trying to do offensively. I don't know if it's within Coach Paris' staff. Maybe in the offseason he's got to make some very hard decisions. But we never space ourselves, and Bill knows what I'm talking about. Our passing is atrocious. We're the worst passing team I have ever seen. We can't dribble. We can't do anything right offensively. I mean, the first 6 minutes of the ball game, we have 6 turnovers. You're not going to go on the road and win like that. And to me, we were never in that game. And I mean, it was just, it was worse. It reminded me of that coach we had 2 coaches ago, and I can't even think of his name right now. But the team definitely took a turn back last night. I know, how can you say that if you haven't even won a conference game? But just hasn't been good. I don't know what their answers are over there, but we look flat. We look so unprepared, and that's the part that's kind of got me, you know, a little rattled about things. But I'm really concerned about this program. I am very concerned. But anyway, again, guys, thanks for letting me rant and rave. But you have to take care of that basketball. You can't make these sloppy turnovers. And we look like a team that's just so lost out there. But anyway, I'm sure other people will call in as well and look forward to what else you guys have to say. Thanks a lot, guys.
Well, I appreciate the phone call. Preston, last night, I'm not trying to make excuses for them. That's not what I'm trying to do. But they did last night resemble a team that, as you would expect from an 0-7 conference team, has had their confidence shattered. That's part of, to Ray's point. B, they not only had their confidence is not only shattered. Last night was the first time I didn't see, especially over the last several games, because you did see it against Mississippi State and in the blowout to Alabama. But last night was also the first time I didn't see fight from them. It was for them. It was almost like a chore to be there. It looked like a team who was like, we're 0-7. What are we doing here? So no confidence, lack of enthusiasm, if you will. To Ray's question about CMB, I'll say this: that's the offense, and it worked substantially better last year when you had B.J. Mack, who out there is a threat, was a legitimate threat. Colin Murray-Boyles is not that, but they also don't have. This is the difference between last year and this year, Preston. You don't have that B.J. Mack who can step out in that high post area and facilitate the offense both with passing but also be a threat to shoot the ball so that when the opposition plays man-to-man, they don't sag off. Last year, B.J. Mack could float around kind of in that middle third of the court, if you will, that if you section off sideline to sideline, B.J. Mack could stand in that middle third of the court, catch the ball at the high post and facilitate with a pass, or square up and knock down a jumper. And that's the one area that I would have, at least according to mock drafts, NBA scouts do not have, but that's the one area that I would have questions about Colin Murray-Boyles' potential as a pro. Can he regularly knock down 10 to 12 footers and even further back out because of his size?
Yeah, that all makes sense. And my biggest thing, as you were saying, that was then, this is now. So that was last year's offense. Obviously, this year's team is not that team. Things have to change.
Okay. Yeah, that's been the offense for 3 years. And that goes back, I'll just say this, when Lamont Paris put it in his first year, he made some subtle changes to it. But remember, he was very adamant, we're not changing what we do for one guy in G.G. Jackson. He has to conform to what we do, and this is who we are going to be. I don't know if you get credit for staying true to your ways or if you make change just to make change.
That's the point. I like where you're going with that.
There you go.
That's a big question for the day. Do you make change just to make change? Or do you stick with who you've been and who you are?
There you go. 803-404-6100. We'll let you listen to a little bit of Lamont Paris, what he had to say post-game last night, get his thoughts on it. We'll get back into it as well. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. When we had to do a kitchen remodel, thanks to a flood, CHW Cabinetry was very helpful in getting everything put together. All of everything as far as the layout was concerned, choosing accessories, then that photorealistic rendering I've talked about. Can't tell you how helpful that was because the fact that you saw the finished kitchen. It was a picture of the finished kitchen before it was actually done, and that helped us when we needed to go find all of the other things to get the kitchen finished. The installation We don't have any reports of any accidents out there, so we welcome that and hope that Wednesday continues to be just like that. More spring-like conditions weather-wise. 69 today, windy and warm. A few clouds tomorrow, 67. On Friday, we're looking for a high of 75, maybe some rain in the afternoon or evening. But going into the weekend, mid to upper 60s under mostly sunny skies. And that pattern really continues into next week. Right now, 44 on 107.5 The Game.
.620 here as we get you up and get you going. As you heard Jen say, windy today here in the Midlands, but we are going to have some warmer weather, and that will be very, 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 very welcome as we get you up and get you going, get you out the door. If you want to be a part of the program, 803-404-6100. And then reminder, you can always go to our live stream. The Garnet Yardbird, Craig, Tyler, all in there right now, discussing the game from last night. Craig pointing out 93 turnovers in the last 5 games for the Gamecocks, and we'll kind of get into that in just a second. But you can go to our live stream, go to YouTube, and go to the Game TV Radio, powered by Integrated Media and sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. You can download the 107.5 The Game app as well and take us anywhere from iTunes or Google Play. So a couple different ways for you to be a part of the program if you're not always able to listen via the regular radio. Again, go to our live stream where you can hop into the chat room there in the morning and get yourself some breakfast, some coffee, and chat with Gamecock fans, mostly Gamecock fans. We have a few Clemson fans that wander in there, but you can chat and talk sports and listen to us as well. 803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. South Carolina last night, 71-60. They dropped this game to Georgia. And Jen, I tell you what, talking about those turnovers. Let's play just a few minutes. This is a very long clip. We're not going to play all 2 minutes and 19 seconds, but it does give you a little bit of insight into South Carolina missing Talon Cooper. Jen, this is clip number 8. This is Lamont Paris last night after the game talking about the ball handling, and a guy that last year, Preston, and at one point I started to do the statistics and look at his assist-to-turnover ratio. Talon Cooper was, because he was only here 1 year and because I think he had bounced around some, which I'm still trying to figure out why he bounced around in the manner he did, Talon Cooper was a very underrated point guard last year as we were learning that team. I think he's very underrated for all of South Carolina point guards. But let's listen to a little bit. Again, we probably won't listen to the whole thing. But here is Lamont Paris talking about missing Talon Cooper's ball handling.
Well, no, he was good. But it was in conjunction. It was Talon Cooper in conjunction also with Meechie Johnson, who also could alleviate some pressure. And then behind those two guys was Jacoby. And Zach did a little of the ball handling. But, so certainly those guys were, Talon during the season, I think, was had the seventh highest assist rate of all active players. So, I mean, that's a hard one to replace. But what happens is, you bring new guys in and guys have opportunity. Some of it happens through growth, opportunity, and then some of it happens through recruiting a new face like Jamari. And so, it's certainly when we brought these guys in, we told them about the opportunities that they would have. Jacoby's played a lot of minutes in this conference. Jamari's played a lot of minutes in his in his career. But guys have to step up and play better. That's the bulk of what our turnovers are. But some of our bigs turn the ball over too. But that's kind of built into the equation that those guys, if they start to make a lot of plays, they end up turning the ball over. But even we've had guys like Zach who start to. At one point, this was a real stat. Was that through like 15 games, 16 games, he had 15 total turnovers.
There you hear Lamont Paris kind of breaking it down. Preston, there's a lot of things I think I hear in that, but I'm reading between the lines. What do you take away?
Yeah, I mean, we can't talk about that was then. This is now. So I understand, and I'm sure he was referring to a question. And I'm sure that we're pining for what that was, but that's not what we have here. And so you have to address who is here. And as I watch, there is no point guard on the team. There's people who are playing the position of point guard, people who have penciled in at PG. There is no point guard on the team. Nobody who's assumed that responsibility, and the people that they have in those roles are not taking care of the ball, and that's the number one job of the point guard. So we can pine over what we had, but we don't have that now. Going
into last night, per game, South Carolina averages 13 turnovers per game. Their opponents average 10.8, so that's a negative 2.2 turnover margin in the game. Again, this is stats prior to last night per the Gamecocks online website. For the season, Jamari Thomas has 38 turnovers is what I'm looking at. He, going into last night, he had played in 16 games, started 15 of those. Colin Murray-Boyles has 56 turnovers in the 20 games that he has played and started. That's certainly a number you'd like to drive down. Jacoby Wright with 32 and Zach Davis with 33 turnovers, respectively.
Zach's spectacular, though. I will give Zach his due. When Zach makes a turnover, it's at least spectacular. It's memorable. I've taken to calling it the Zach Davis experience. There was one stretch yesterday where he had a +2 in the stat sheet. He turned over and made a turnover in a matter of 10 seconds. He got a steal, and then he missed the layup. And it was just like, this is the Zach Davis experience.
Everything that goes along with it. Yeah. Zach Davis, for the record, you talk about filling up the stat sheet. 33 assists, 33 turnovers, 20 steals, 2 blocks. He's averaging 9.5 points per game, and he's got 39 fouls.
That's my guy.
He keeps it right there.
Guy.
That whole stat line.
Like I said, it's the Zach Davis experience, man.
803-404-6100. Let's get out to the phone lines. Rich, you got about 2.5 minutes, buddy. What you got on your mind this morning?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, it's watching Carolina basketball. I think you kind of hit it on the head earlier, Bill, and maybe Preston too. It's not even frustrating anymore. It's just kind of, it is what it is, right? And I think that some of the blame does have to go back to the coaches, because you knew what you were losing last year. And we just thought we need to call it like it is, because we missed on some guys, right? The guys we brought in, they're not SEC caliber guys. I look around at the league, and it just happens to be the year that the league has just risen from the ashes right here, the best year ever. But I've said it before, we don't have an SEC team right now. We're just too weak. There was one time last night where Arden Conyers, I felt for him right there. I thought he ended up in the third row because he got caught in a mismatch down low, and the Georgia guy just absolutely manhandled him. Other teams in our league are big physical presences, and we don't have that right now. We haven't developed that. We haven't brought that in, and so I know it's got to be frustrating for the coaching staff. It's the same staff we had last year that did well, same offensive scheme, same defensive philosophy, but we don't have. I've said it before. We got boys out there playing a man's game, and that's got to kind of go back to coaching. I feel for you guys, maybe we just need to go ahead and turn the page, start doing some baseball previews. We're counting down the days there, and until then, we'll kind of just ride it out and see. I'm sure they're good guys. You know, I'm sure that those guys are good guys. I'm sure Conyers, I'm sure Thomas, Jacoby Wright. I've known him, seen him since high school. He's a good guy, but just hasn't developed to be that true point guard for that SEC team. Until we find those guys, it is what it is. So I'll hang up and listen to you.
I appreciate the phone call. And look, the kind of the elephant in the room, a part of this, and I don't know, maybe at some point we will circle back to this, is what's going on with Cam Scott. And I don't mean like what's going on. Like, I've seen him play this year, and it's not been good. And I called for him to play more. But Cam Scott, in 17 games of action, has 11 turnovers himself, has not shot the ball particularly well. And this was a guy, a heavily recruited player that was expected to come in and, if not start, make an impact. And, again, did not play last night in that ball. Played 3 minutes and 41 seconds last night in that ball game. 803-404-6100. We'll get into a little bit of what Jeremiah Donati had to say on the postgame show yesterday about men's basketball and continue this discussion. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. All right, now we're starting to warm back up. Maybe that heater in your house isn't necessary like it has been, but I got a feeling, because we always see this, by the way, Groundhog Day on Sunday, that we will get another cold snap, and that heating element in your heating and air unit is going to continue to need to work properly. But with AAA Heating and Air, you don't have to worry about that, whether it's the dog days, those incredibly hot days of the summer, or the really chilly nights in January and February. With my heating and air unit from AAA Heating and Air, I know we're going to stay nice and cool or good and warm, whatever it is. And you can do the same right now. Call AAA Heating and Air. Get a free replacement estimate, 803-677-1500. And then when you purchase a brand new heating and air unit, just like I did about 2 years ago, you can have no interest and no payments for a full year. You heard that right. No interest, no payments. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 803-677-1500.
Still looking pretty good. No accidents on the board right now, and it doesn't appear there's any major slowdowns. So we welcome a good, clear morning. 69, windy and warm today. Still a little bit chilly in the morning, 39 overnight. 67 tomorrow, 75 on Friday with the chance of some rain coming in the evening. Then we'll be in the mid-60s for the weekend with sunny skies, so it'll be great to be able to get out and enjoy. Currently 44 on 107.5 The Game.
All right, starting tomorrow, Preston and I will be out at the first annual Pro Swing Golf Classic, a 3-day event. Starting tomorrow, Preston and I will be over at Forest Drive with Pro Swing. You can still get registered today, and we'll be broadcasting there from 6 to 9 in the morning, both tomorrow and Friday. Go ahead, get registered. 2-man teams, indoor golf, Preston Thorne, our kind of golf. Early, chilly, don't have to walk very far, don't have to run the risk of driving a golf cart into a pond, maybe stepping on a snake if you're looking for your ball in the rough. This is our kind of golf.
Tiger and Rory and Preston.
That's
same
right.
Guys. We're all the same. We can play the same courses. We do the same things. It's a lot of fun.
So we will be there. It's the first annual Pro Swing Golf Classic. Again, it's tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. $150 to register a 2-man team. Bookings are available 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Food will be included. First place wins $1,000. Second place wins $750. And third place can win $500. We will also have a drawing for Gamecock baseball season tickets that someone could win by registering to play in the golf tournament. Call today. Today's your final day. Call today and get registered. 803-528-1617. Again, it's 803-528-1617. We look forward to being back out there tomorrow and hanging out with him. You weren't there last time. Beautiful facility over there off of Forest Drive. So excited to be back out there tomorrow morning and hang out with your good buddies, my good buddies, Michael and the team from Integrated Media over at Pro Swing. So get ready for that first annual Pro Swing Golf Classic. Let's listen to Lamont Paris. This is last night, and we're going to kind of play a little bit of this here and go back and forth. This is Lamont Paris last night after the game. Roster limitations against execution. We'll discuss that, and then we'll come back and we'll hear what Jeremiah Donati had to say about making sure the men's basketball program is on par with the best in the SEC. But let's start with Lamont Paris last night talking about his roster.
Well, roster limitations and execution probably go hand in hand. The only thing I'll say is that in the league's overall better, I would say. I'd say most people, Mike White probably, I don't want to put any words in his mouth, probably feels like he has a more talented team than last year. I think a lot of people in our league probably feel that. The league has gotten better, but we're doing almost the same things, right? And so certainly at some point it comes down. I haven't changed my practice habits necessarily, or I've tweaked some of the things that we do just to simplify a couple of things, but certainly it comes down to personnel's ability to execute at times.
What do you take there?
Yeah, a lot of guys in this league feel like they have better rosters, but not me. That's what he said. Mike White got a better roster. I mean, I'm not going to say that Mike White has a better roster. There's a lot of guys in this league. They probably feel like they got a better roster. Me, not so much so. That's what I heard. The other thing I heard is that, yes, many of you have never been referred to as a limitation. I have been referred to as a limitation. So when you talk about a roster and you talk about roster limitations, you have no choice but to be like, is he talking to me? Is he talking about me? Who's the limitation? And when the team is playing this poorly, it's everybody. All of them are limitations, as proven by their performance right now.
So a couple things on this. We may have to push the Donati thing back because let me give my opinion on this. Number one, this was the third recruiting cycle for Lamont Paris. You can't blame the previous staff for holdovers or whatever, especially not in this day and age with the transfer portal. Lamont Paris, the first year I feel like it was 50-50, if you will, hit and miss. You got Michi Johnson. That was a great pickup. Hayden Brown was undersized but battled hard and gave you some really nice things. Maybe, even though he's still here, no offense to him, I'm not trying to bang on him, but Benjamin Bozeman-Verdonk maybe wasn't what you were hoping for in that first transfer portal. And then there was a few others. But with Michi and with Hayden Brown, I feel like you hit. Last year was a resounding success. Talon Cooper and B.J. Mack fit exactly what Lamont Paris wanted to do. We just talked about it, ball handling and having a high post guy that could go into the elbow area, or again, as I call it, the mid-third, the second third of the court there, if you break them into sections, sideline to sideline.
Ooh.
And see where I'm going with that?
I like it.
And then you got the mid-third, and in that position, you had a great fit in B.J. Mack who could pass, catch, do everything, by the way. If you go to
B.J. Mack played basketball the right way.
Joyce Edwards would be proud of B.J. Mack.
The right way.
Two hands, elbows extended, nice set shot, and down low, he played the old man YMCA game if he had to go down low and bang it. Perfect. Hit it out the park. This year, you didn't get it. And on top of that, and I don't have the answer for this because I know he's a good player, but the development of Cam Scott, and I don't know if that's on Cam, I don't know if that's on Lamont Paris, but I think you have to ask that question because in basketball, having done recruiting in basketball, having been a person who has scouted and been there, basketball recruiting is pretty cut and dry. I can take Preston Thorne out there to an AAU event for the weekend, and you don't have to be a big expert. You could look across the games and go, that guy's an elite player, that guy's an elite player, that guy's an average player. No, this guy can't play SEC, ACC basketball. When you go do that, so normally top 50 guys, I don't want to say they're sure things because right now, and I think Cam was just outside of 24/7 Sports, top 50, I think it was 51 or 52. But you have to ask the question when a guy like that doesn't perform to the point that he's struggling to get legitimate minutes.
There was a simple juxtaposition last night. Georgia had a freshman who looked like, oh, he can play.
Asa Newell.
He looked like a dude that's like, oh, okay, he's going to be very good very quickly.
And he was top 20.
He looked like
it. He's probably a lottery pick.
Looked like it.
Right, exactly.
It was very clear. So, yeah, I see what you're saying when you're watching that.
803-404-6100, how you can win. I tell you, we'll come back. We will get into this. We're open today. No Jamie Bradford, no J.C. Sherbert, so we're wide open today. So we'll get back into that Jeremiah Donati thing. But I do think the roster, and this is where you wonder, they did miss on guys. Jamar Brickus, who is at Villanova, who's doing some really good things, was probably going to come to South Carolina. I think he'd all but publicly committed. However, he was from LaSalle. He is a Philadelphia kid, if you will. He got the offer from Villanova after the South Carolina visit. He chose to stay. That's not Lamont's fault. That is not bad recruiting. That is not Lamont Paris's fault or his staff at all. The kid made a decision to stay close to home, much like Nick Pringle came close to home. I think Pringle's kind of been what I expected him to be this year, but there is no denying that this transfer portal class has not lived up to what they hoped, and they did miss on people. And then you've got to ask the player development part, which is Zach Davis doesn't appear to have taken a step forward. Colin Murray-Boyles, I don't know if I can say he's taken a step forward. And Cam Scott, you got to ask about him. And then one other piece to all this, Preston, that we leave out, because I have watched it happen with some staffs. Darren Horn had a guy named Scott Cherry who was a big part of his 21-10 staff the first year he was here. Scott Cherry then went to High Point. Darren Horn never recovered. Frank Martin had a very big piece in Brad Underwood on his staff early on. When Brad Underwood left, you could tell it took a little bit longer. Then the other part of the Final Four, I can't think of his name, all of a sudden it's escaping my mind. He went to Austin Peay, left, and you saw a drop-off and some things. Tim Buckley, the shot doctor, left last year.
It's a good name.
And we have to kind of address that maybe as well. There's a lot to do. 803-404-6100, but then we ask, offensively, Do you make change just to make change?
He's been saying he's doing the same things.
That resonates with other things as well. We'll explain. It's the early game. $6:49 as we get you up and get you going. A couple of y'all weighing in on our text line. Eric and Sumter, when you have to rely on the transfer portal every year, you can't miss on anyone. But this year Lamont missed on a few players. Michael weighs in this morning. He says, I have a pet peeve. Circle this. This is good. Because I don't know. Inaugural, first annual.
Ooh. Okay. All right. I have not considered this.
Those are two different things, though, because inaugural is the very first time you do it, or the first annual. Well, I guess
because I'm calling the winter golf tournament for Pro Swing. I see where he's going with this. I'm reading the first annual Pro Swing Golf Classic, but
so either or could be used.
Either or. I feel like inadvertently, Michael has put a early game question out there that we have to, at some point this year, come to a conclusion on. But good catch on that, Michael. Good catch on that. 803-404-6100. Stephen in Roanoke weighs in and says, I feel for the players, not the coaches. They just aren't good enough. If we turned the whole roster over next year except for C&B, I would be okay with that. I don't know where this roster is going to go as we sit here. The month of obviously the month of January is now closed out for South Carolina basketball. Next game will be on February 1st. It'll be on Saturday night. Not good timing if you're wanting a big attendance. 8:30 Saturday night against Texas A&M. Preston and I were talking about that off air. Maybe if it was earlier in the day, maybe you get more people. 8:30 against number 13 Texas A&M. But we'll continue to talk about this in hour number 2. Also, we'll get into what Jeremiah Donati had to say on the postgame show and circle back to that roster thing. But Preston, even as it relates to South Carolina basketball, and we talked about it, Lamont Paris has stayed true to who he is. It is who he is. He is who he is. He has run this offense for 3 years. It is the foundational piece. It is what we know. But sometimes you've got to make changes to accommodate, to grow. Or, like with French fries or other things, do you stay with tried and true and stick with what has gotten you to the top?
But are you at the top? Like much like Mike Tomlin, you win a lot of games, but do you win the Super Bowl?
Oh.
There's a local establishment who has made a fairly controversial decision.
More controversial than I realized. And Preston and I stumbled upon this together yesterday when both of us were like, have you seen the amount of social media posts about this local establishment not switching up their fries, but I believe it's adding a different fry.
Well, that's interesting you say that because I interpreted it as they were changing the fries.
Okay.
Changing the fries. And the fries are being changed in this local establishment who has been around for a long time. Many of you have some feelings connected to it. There's a lot of nostalgia that's going on with it. And it brings us to the question, when do you make a change? Do you make a change because it's time to just change? If it's not broke, do you fix it? What is going on with this? Because I think this has a very specific local tie, especially in the conversations that we're having. I will say this, Bill. I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. Much like Mike Tomlin, if you make this change, you better go to the top. You can't miss. Just like in the portal, they cannot miss on this French fry decision. Mm-hmm. If they miss on this French fry decision, everything could go wrong.
And you need to ride it to the end. I mean,
and then you have to be committed to it.
Exactly.
Okay, I got a little clarity from what I understand. Somebody who was at the establishment last night, I got a little text message clarity here saying it is a complete switch.
Oh, boy.
There is not, because I feel like the safe play is to keep the old fry.
That's wishy-washy.
And go.
You can't do that.
No, it's a completely different shape.
Oh.
Is my understanding.
What's the change in the shape?
Well, we're going for crisper, more crisp, as I think I'd have to go back and read the release, the press release. The release that was put out there. The fans, if you will, have been clamoring for more crisp fries, and this establishment is going with more crisp fries, but I understand they are doing away with now I don't know how without going too far down a rabbit hole here of what we want to say and what we don't want to say right away. The fries aren't what make the establishment for me, But I will say their fries on a scale of 1, 2, 4, and 5 are a 2 to me.
They are, but
They're original, so I'm okay with the change.
But what if the change changes the whole meal? What if the fries were actually the glue guy in this whole situation? You didn't think BJ Mack, you was like, oh, BJ Mack is pretty good. But now you're seeing like, oh, BJ Mack did things the right way.
He was crispy.
Exactly. What if these fries do things the right way? Maybe they don't try and outshine the main player.
Maybe they flop.
Press it for our friends here at Integrated Media. Listen, we've been trying to tell you all year that it's time to get ready. Whether the spring was coming, which is on the way, 16 days to opening day, Super Bowl, you need to get yourself ready. And you can get your outdoor setup with Samsung Ceres TVs, Sonos outdoor speakers that are waterproof. You can get Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors. You can get all your things that you need from the good folks at Integrated Media. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, call Integrated Media now. We've been telling you all year, and you haven't done it yet, but the spring is on the way. So get yourself ready so you can get set outside. Call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
And we're not seeing really any major traffic slowdowns. No accidents to report. 69, that'll be our high. Windy and warm today. Overnight low, still kind of chilly, 39. Tomorrow, high of 67, 75 for Friday. Those afternoon or evening showers might be coming in. And then for the weekend, mid-60s and sunny skies. So definitely a great weekend to plan on getting outdoors. Right now, it's not quite as cold as it has been, sitting at 44 on 107.5 The Game.
we may have a hot topic. When you get into doing radio, they tell you about the topic tree. You know, your topic tree and how one topic, it creates branches and creates smaller branches and leaves, so forth and so on. And the French fry discussion may be about to explode on the topic tree this morning, not just for one local establishment who's making
Huge
monster change.
Monster.
Yeah.
This is brave.
It is.
They're not waffling in their decision.
This is
And Jen couldn't be happier to have more puns available.
It's where I live.
This is when we are at our absolute best, is when we have an off-topic discussion where Jen can get involved with puns. This is peak early game right here.
We're here. Book it. Book us for the
waffling.
Trust me, this is
curly.
all being recorded. It's going on. That entry, that award, it's ours.
Yeah, we're going for
Best
it.
morning show.
We are
it's ours.
covering the entertainment section right now, unlike anybody else. So we've talked basketball this morning. We're running out of things to say on that. 71-60 last night. South Carolina loses. That's the 8th straight loss. 0-8 now in conference. More importantly, I think 10-11 overall, which to me is that's the concern. That's the concern. You can't backslide from the NCAA tournament to a losing season. Overall, a losing season overall. Texas A&M on Saturday night, 8:30, by the way.
But did you find it interesting when Jamie Bradford said that literally that team before yesterday was like between 12 and 16 points, something like that, away from being in the tournament? Like,
I didn't agree with him on being in the tournament. They've got a lot, even if they were 4-3 in conference,
but
or 3-4.
Yeah, I don't know. Mathematically,
they would be in the discussion. They would be, but they wouldn't be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot changes. It's basketball, and that sounds stupid, but last night Kansas, I think, barely beat Central Florida by 4. Like, you play a lot of games. It's not football, and you play a lot, and so you open the door for closer competition. Having been around this game, I love college basketball. Having done scouting in it, there's so many things to it. So I hate to say this in a bad way, but it's my opinion on basketball. Close losses mean nothing. Like, they mean nothing. Georgia the other day got beat by 30 by Florida. That, to me, that means it's a one-game sample size. The body of work is what I'm looking at. And if you want.
But they were at least in contention of winning. You know, they weren't blowouts all the time.
Jen, they were in contention of beating North Florida, too. They lost by 3.
Agree. But, and to the point, they're not finishing, and there's so many things that are going wrong. But just the fact that they get to that point, you know, I think that's even the more maddening part.
The part that I have been impressed with is last night felt like the first time we saw a team who wasn't sure if they wanted to be there, Preston. You've been on teams like that where the bottom has fallen out, and I think you said it, there's points where guys just kind of mentally check out.
Yeah, losing's not fun. Newsflash, losing's not fun, and playing college athletics is hard. It's demanding. There's a lot that goes into it, and when you're not performing, it's not a lot of fun to show up. And there's also this idea like, I got to show up every day and not get whatever, not meet my own expectations or not meet the old coach's expectations, or just plain be embarrassed, being the only team that's 0-8. That's not easy to do. That's not excuses. And this is maybe a life lesson for them where they have to show up, and if you don't do your best, you can get embarrassed. So maybe hopefully they'll take something from it. But yeah, it's not easy playing in those circumstances.
I'll also ask you this too, because you go back to that, because this is what's different about when you played versus what is going on today. When you're like this and you're 0-8, and look, I don't know Colin Murray Boyles. I don't know his mentality. I don't know what he does on a daily basis, and I say this because it still is hard for him to escape the fact that ESPN put a mock draft out last week, I believe it was last week, and he was 19th, and that people around him see that, and people around him go, just hang in there for another month. Look at this mock. You're going to the NBA. But that's hard for a 19 or 20-year-old kid when I'm dangling, hey, in July, see these millions of dollars? that's it's hard to stay focused, right?
Yeah.
But not only that for him, but for other guys. And I'll use Zach Davis as an example because I think, and I've been told by others, there's no other schools out there. There's no tampering going on. If Zach Davis were to enter the transfer portal, there are other coaches out there in the SEC that would be like 6'8", can handle the ball, shoots it fairly well, shoots it okay. He's just not getting the proper coaching needs. Bring him to me. I can fix him. Zach Davis would be a hot commodity in the transfer portal, and you can't help but wonder if he's 0-8 and he's thinking about any of the future or whatever. How hard is it to stay locked in on in the moment in the next game?
Impossible. That's the world that we have created. Let me make sure we are clear on that. This is the world that everybody exists in the world that these college coaches exist in. So let's make sure we're not blaming the players for existing in the world that has created for them. But yeah, it's impossible. And of course, when the team is 0-8, we're 0-8 because of y'all, not because of me. That's always going to be the case. So, yeah, there's always going to be reasons why you're looking around and saying, like, maybe I could be more successful in another operation. So, yeah, of course.
Sorry, halfway through that, I read a text that came in.
Was it about the most important issue of the day?
It involves it. Texter weighs in. I'm going to edit some of this. I think there's a mistake in the text because I think maybe it's supposed to say rabid raccoon, but I once let a rabid raccoon snatch a French fry off my rear end on a 1-beer bet.
Oh yeah, I don't know. That's wild. Okay.
Sorry. So anything you said while that text, my ADD kicked in and I went in a different direction. Yes, that was 803-404-6100. We have a very serious French fry discussion to get to. We do. Crinkle, waffle, regular,
more importantly,
curly.
More importantly, how do you feel about a local establishment, a storied local establishment, one that many of you all have many feelings tied to it, making a significant change to their menu? Significant change to their menu. How do you feel?
We will be the voice of South Carolina on this. 803-404-6100. I guess we'll talk some basketball, too. Let's get out to the phone lines. Steve, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind as it pertains to men's basketball?
Good morning. How y'all doing?
What's up, Bubba?
Good. I think Gamecock basketball is like everything surrounded by Calamari boys. And to me, I just say he's a good college basketball player. And the hype that's built around him, it seems like to me that the other teams know that, and Lamont Paris, in my opinion, he needs to open up the offense to other players, and because Calamari Board is not a type player where I'm gonna put the team out back and we're gonna do this. He's not that type player. You go back to Sedale Stowell, and they got him Boys as a 19 ESPN pick. Calamari Boyd's game is not good as Sedale Stowell was, and he didn't last a couple of years in the NBA. So I don't know if he's playing for himself or the team. It just like to me, like the chemistry is not there. And you can't, like you said about Zach Davis, he's a good ball player, but it's like to me he's not playing the game that he can really play because it's centered around Calamari Boys. And that's taken away from that team. I watched that game. That's just my opinion. He need to get other players involved. He need to go to the bench and see who's hungry. I mean, what you got going, change the starting five. You come out the same starting, change it to give a team different looks. You know what I mean? Bring someone off the bench. I mean, you look at the women outscoring the starters. You don't know the expectation of, you really can't base a person on practice. And I know these coaches go by what they do in practice. But that's your teammate you're practicing against. You're not playing against an opponent. You're not practicing against an opponent. I mean, I played basketball in high school and all that stuff like that. So, and it's just like the hungry players might bring you to where you may want to be. I mean, you got to change it up, and the same strategy, it's just not working. Thank you.
Appreciate the phone call, Steve. Let's get one more in here real quick. Patrick wants to weigh in. Patrick, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind as it regards to South Carolina basketball?
I'm doing good, guys. So I know the Big Ten, with their 18 teams, they're cutting their field down to 15, so the bottom three won't make it. Do we know if the SEC has a cut line this year now with them being 16 teams? And also, if I had to go with fries, I grew up on crinkle, but I would take waffle in a heartbeat.
Very good phone call.
Quality call. Thank you, sir.
Very good phone call.
You understand. Good job.
You are correct. The 2025 Big Ten basketball tournament, only 15 teams will participate, with the bottom three not qualifying for the tournament. To answer your question, no, the SEC is not doing that. The SEC will have all their teams involved. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that is again in Nashville this year. But no, to answer your question, and they'll stick with it this year. Now, moving forward, I'm not sure, but at least for 2025, all the teams in the SEC will indeed be up in Nashville. Let's take one more. Will wants to weigh in on Gamecock football this morning. Will, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good.
Yeah, I just had basically a question for Preston. Since he played football and stuff like that. With South Carolina, with the record that they had last year with 9 wins and almost making it to the playoffs, with that mindset of knowing, hey, we almost made it there, do you think this year's mindset in the locker room should be, hey, we almost made it? It's time. It's time to step up. It's time for us to make it. It's time for us to get there. And where do you see this going as far as a mindset of this football team going into next year? Thanks for taking my call.
Appreciate the call. Yeah, I think that should be the mindset. Hopefully the leadership on the team takes that mindset. The flip side of that coin is that people are resting on their laurels and they think that they made it last year. And the players that have to step up this year feel like they were more of the success. They were more part of the success than they actually were. So this is an interesting situation that, quite frankly, Shane hasn't had to deal with as a head coach. And so I'm be interested to see how Shane and staff and the leadership deal with coming off of such a successful season and also having a little bit of hype behind them.
Appreciate the phone call. Will, 803-404-6100. Rodney weighs in. Waffle fries or king.
Okay, but I don't think that's going to be on the menu.
Well, right, but I think
So
that's
we
what I'm
have a
saying.
couple different discussions
We're going
going
a little
on.
bit with a broader discussion of. You're right, it's not on this
Correct.
establishment's menu.
Correct.
It's going crinkle.
Crinkle.
And I think the crinkle fry is having a renaissance, if you will.
Never should have left.
It's having a renaissance. I think the crinkle fry is making a comeback potentially, or a big comeback. So we've got a fry discussion. We got a college basketball discussion. We got an overall French fry discussion. What direction do we take the establishment's menu decision?
I just want to know what people think. Are we excited about it? Did you feel like it was time? Are they moving in haste? Are they changing for change's sakes? I just need to know what people are thinking.
Yeah, what was the mindset? What was the what was the impetus for
What was
the
the
change?
impetus?
Well, we got a statement. We can go to the statement if we have to. And then Quarter throws everything into the spin cycle. Wing chip, fries, wings chips with vinegar.
Okay, but wing chips now, are they floppy or crispy?
Crispy.
No.
Crispy.
Got to be floppy.
Semi-floppy.
There you go. See, I don't want them just raw, but I don't want them totally crispy either. So, yeah, they got to have a little bit of flappability.
803-404-6100 if you want to get into this. You're listening to Floppy, Semi-Floppy, and Crispy on the early game.
Waistcoat is a very bold decision. It's a very, very bold decision. Are you tired of dealing with pain, and are you looking for a solution that doesn't involve surgery, drugs, big expenses, or long recovery times? Well, let me tell you about Shockwave Therapy, now available at QC Kinetics. Shockwave Therapy is an evidence-based, non-invasive treatment that stimulates your body's natural healing processes. It works by increasing circulation to the affected area and promoting cellular repair. The best part? There's no surgery, no drugs, and absolutely no downtime. Athletes have trusted this advanced technology for years. So whether you're recovering from an injury or simply looking to enhance your healing, shockwave therapy could be the game-changer solution that you've been waiting for. So schedule a free consultation today with QC Kinetics. They're offering shockwave therapy now, and it's your path to a pain-free, active life. Call 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
We do have a report of a tie-up Highway 302 at I-26. No other slowdowns to speak of, and we will be speaking of really nice weather right now. 69 for the high today, windy and warm. And then tomorrow, 67, 75 on Friday, maybe some late afternoon or evening showers could be rolling in. But hey, we're going to be in the mid-60s for the weekend. Just reiterating why we live here. 44 currently on the early game.
South Carolina basketball, and French fries. And we'll get to some Jeremiah Donati also as he weighs in on a couple different topics, or he weighed in yesterday on the post-game show. Want to remind you, we have a Gamecock Traditions contest. It's an over-under contest. Go to 1075thegame.com, click on contest, pick the over or under of the week, and you could win a Gamecock Traditions gift card. This week's contest, Colin Murray Boyles, over under 8.5 rebounds against Texas A&M this coming Saturday night. Colin Murray Boyles, over under 8.5 rebounds. Now, just for the record, last night, Preston, he had 5. 8 seems like a lot. Texas A&M's big physical. Last night, by the way, Gamecocks with 29 total rebounds in that contest against Georgia. The Bulldogs, and this kind of goes back to something also we talked, this is effort, heart, hustle. Asa Newell, by the way, the player that you mentioned, 10 rebounds, but the Gamecocks out-rebounded Georgia last night.
They did. They did win that particular metric in the fart metrics. They did, and as a matter of fact, they also won the assist. They did not win the turnovers.
No.
And the free throws were close. So the fart metrics might have led you to believe the game was closer than it actually was when you watch it. That's why you got to watch the games. You can't just rely on even our advanced analytics, patent pending. You can't just rely on them. You got to watch the games.
803-404-6100. Texter weighs in this morning. Crinkle fries are trash. Slim, tiny fries are better. Crispy raw fries are king.
Well, we just had Jamie call in, and he said crinkle fries. I'm a fan. Crinkle fries are good, but definitely the thin shoestring type fries. He said those are the ones that rock.
Okay.
I don't just, but then you need cheese for those.
Todd,
That's me.
Todd weighed in. He said, "You don't mess with perfection. If it ain't broke, don't fix it." Fries should have been left the way they were. This is a bad move.
Oh, this is what I want to know. I got to admit, I went to that establishment, and I don't go often. Yeah. But when I go to this place, I want this place to taste. It's like I want this. And I feel like when I'm going there now, if it's not going to taste that way, I might be disappointed.
Brad weighs in. Their current fries are my favorite fries, so I'm not happy about it. I even told them that yesterday when I enjoyed the good ones for the last time.
Just to let you know one thing.
Yeah, and the guy, ringing him up, or the gal ringing him up, is like,
yeah, he's like,
I don't care.
I just work here.
Yeah, here's your.
This is all above my pay grade.
For sure.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in on our Friday discussion. Jeremiah Donati yesterday, we talked a lot about basketball. Jeremiah Donati yesterday joined the postgame show, and he talked about making sure men's basketball is on par with the best in the SEC. SEC obviously very, very good at basketball right now. Here's what Jeremiah Donati had to talk with Jay and Elijah in that discussion.
There are no easy wins. I mean, every single game, and we're seeing that this year in the SEC, is just a dogfight, and it's really been a tale of two seasons for the men's and women's program. We were talking off air about the Clemson game, and just seemingly things were going in a great direction. Had some injuries, and we just have not had any luck since then. But I'll tell you, I think Lamont can really coach, and I think that his brand of basketball, even with some of the injuries, we've seen us, really give some of the best teams in the country everything they can handle, and probably could have, should have won those games. And so that's encouraging if you're a Gamecock fan. I feel like we do have a coach who can coach. Do we have a talent gap? I mean, that's something that he and I are really going to have to talk about. I mean, I think we've got some good players. I think we clearly probably didn't have the depth that we need to compete in and night out, and that's a little evident that we're seeing that in real time. So it's not. The question came up. It's not a matter of if Lamont's coming back. It's how can we better support him? And so when the season's over, I actually have a meeting with him next week to start that conversation about what NIL looks like in the spring, and then into revenue sharing. So because it's not just about paying players and finding more money to pay players. Yes, that's part of it, but what are we doing as a program to help continue to build that? So So it's it's an ongoing evaluation. It's probably not one or two things I could tell you right now that I can tell you, but yeah, we need some more depth. I could tell you that's probably one thing that we'll be looking at and making sure that the roster's strong, because I don't anticipate a big drop off in the league next year. So but we've got some key pieces that we think we can bring back, and so if you can do that and continue to build this and bring in some new guys, I think we will like what we see. But
what do you take away from that? That was a very political answer, by the way. Jeremiah Donati fitting in very good. He's going to do very, very well.
Strong lawyer background there.
Answering.
Not a fun meeting. Not a fun first meeting. You don't want to walk into the first meeting with your new boss and be like, yeah, we're 0-9 or 10. Whatever. That's not a great way to start the relationship. Obviously, he voiced his support publicly, whatever that means. I would be interested to see what that meeting looks like. Obviously, Jeremiah he's evaluating everything, and so it's an evaluation process. And yeah, they do have to have some serious conversations. But before you have to have those conversations, we have to go through, hey, Lamont, what is your process? What's been your process? What do you see the issues as? Why didn't this year work? What were the issues previously? Because Jeremiah is like, we've all had this experience at your house. You have something wrong at your house. The contractor comes in and they look around and they say, why'd this person do it that way? Right? They always, regardless of what it is. And so that's what Jeremiah is probably doing. He's looking around. He's like, why was that this way? Why was that this way? And you have to have those conversations with Lamont. And again, not the easiest conversation to have, being Owen, whatever it is, by the time they have that conversation.
Couple things, my opinion, not Preston's, not Jen's, not anybody here at 107.5 The Game, my personal opinion. Number one, the way I heard that, regardless of what anybody else thinks out there, Lamont Paris will be back next year. 0-18, 1-17, whatever. If you listen to that again, that wasn't the dreaded vote of confidence, but it was essentially Jeremiah Donati saying, we're going to work together to get this fixed. Obviously, a meeting will take place next week. I do wonder, and I've brought this up to Preston off air multiple times, and I'm going to bring it up on air now. Saturday night, I'm sure athletic director Donati will be at that game. And I think if it was an afternoon game, you would get a decent crowd. 8:30 is late. 8:30 is a late game, an Eastern time game. You're 0-8. I don't know what the environment and fan base is going to look like outside of the student section. The students have done a really, really, really good job this year. He's going to walk around and see that environment. And Jeremiah Donati is going to take notice of likely what is going to be a very lackluster environment. Very likely. He's then going to show back up roughly 15 hours later to a raucous, sold-out, rocking house when Dawn Staley's girls take the floor, and then later, I guess at halftime or whenever, they honor Asia Wilson. And you're going to compare and contrast those two things, I do believe, and wonder, what do we need to do to get the men's atmosphere to look like the women's, besides the fact of just winning, right? Like, winning does cure all, but I do wonder, in Jeremiah Donati's head, if he hasn't already done it, what he's going to see on Saturday night at 8:30 against what he's going to see at noon Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a drastic juxtaposition between the two programs and where they currently are, obviously, as far as the winning is concerned, but also, I mean, you're missing years of legwork that Coach Staley and her crew have done to build up that fan base. So we'll have to see if they're willing to put in the same type of work to build in that fan base. It wasn't just winning that got those people in the stands. It was the community building. It was the fams. It was all of that also that made people want to get on board. Is this current staff willing to do some of those same things along with winning games?
Jason weighs in. Tater tots reign supreme. Tim from Sumter. Everybody's wrong. Steak fries is where it's at. The French fry debate is going. We continue the early game. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. And let me tell you, no one can clean like Zerorez because with their patented ZR water technology, and this is important, when Zerorez comes and cleans your carpets, cleans your rugs, your tile, your upholstery, it does not leave behind a sticky, soapy residue. They do not use any harsh chemicals. No soap and no residue equals soft, fluffy carpets that stay cleaner longer. And because there's no harsh chemicals, it's pure safety for your family and your pets to roll around on. So right now is the time. Call Zerorez and take advantage of their January sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $119. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. Again, that is 803-262-4020 or book online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Highway 302 at I-26. That's the only accident we have to let you know about. We're not seeing any significant slowdowns due to any issues at this time. 69, that will be our high today, windy and warm. 67 tomorrow, 75. Yep, 75 on Friday. Maybe some afternoon or evening rain coming in, but the weekend, mid-60s with sunny conditions. So beautiful weekend ahead, but great spring-like weather now. 44 currently on the early game.
I left you with that incredible hot take from Jason, who just goes tater tots. And then we had the other hot take when we left from Tim from Sumter that I think drew Jen's higher. Everybody's wrong. Steak fries is where it's at.
It's too much potato. Like that better be your meal. I can't eat that much potato. I want the flavor.
I've never had the issue of not being able to eat that much. What is that like?
803-404-6100 as we discuss both men's basketball. And I think we get a little more in-depth on some issues now. When you're 0-8, you have a January in which you don't win a game. You're now with a losing record. You peel back the layer a little bit and you start to go, okay, what exactly is the issue here? You got a new athletic director coming in, Jeremiah Donati. We'll continue to get into that. And then also, if you want to weigh in on our French fry discussion, a local establishment making a change.
Huge change. I mean, I think don't undersell this.
Huge change. I'll just say that to me, the hamburger at that establishment is why I go there, not the fries.
I think I agree.
Okay.
However, there's a symphony at play when you get that basket.
Gotcha.
When you get that basket, it's a whole thing that works together as a unit, as a team. And I'm just scared that they're going to miss on this particular portal that they're getting into right here. I'm nervous.
But maybe it ends up being a 5-star.
But maybe, and that's the thing. I feel like everybody kind of agrees that there is room for improvement. We just don't know how it's going to go.
I'm going to read some of Ryan's text message. Ryan from Lexington. Nobody asked for new fries. This is another obvious ploy by Big Hamburger to just screw the little people.
And there's that.
Keep your hot takes coming. 803-404-6100. Back to some basketball discussion. Let's get to Jimmy, who wants to weigh in. Jimmy, thank you for holding this morning. What's on your mind?
Well, I mean, number one, with the French fry discussion, I think that we've got to talk about the seasoning before we talk about the potato. If it's got the right seasoning, we can, cover up any, miscomings on the half of the potato. But waffle fries is definitely where it's at.
Jimmy, you're off to a great start. Continue to call.
All right. So, with the basketball side of it, and athletic director Donati is going to have a ton of conversation with Lamont, and I think Lamont's done a good job in a lot of aspects. But I feel like we're missing the focus with the program. Are we getting enough development out of the guys? Because you bring in a kid like Gigi Jackson, he was a pro when he was at Ridgeview. You bring in a kid like, Colin Murray Boyles, he was going to be on a roster or play professional basketball when he was at AC Flora as a junior before he went to prep school. You look at a kid like Hayden or Cam Scott that's, on the bench now. Where's the development? Because there's been so much, transfer portal heavy. We get guys like Michi, we get guys like Talon, but the guys that remained or the guys that were inherited have gotten a little bit better. I think Zach's shot has gotten better. I think that Jacoby's done some better things as far as, his decision-making and his defensive ability. But where's the talent development? I think that's the next step that we've got to get from the staff as far as, you recruit these high-level kids. That's awesome. That's great that kids from South Carolina are staying in Columbia. But at the end of the day, if we're not developing them, you're not going to continue to get those kids. And, a lot of development in some instances is playing time. So you go to a guy like Cam, been sick, is what it is. Everybody, has got the flu or a cough right now. But how are we developing these guys? And it's really hard to justify to recruits, you're going to come here, you're going to be a part of a program if they're not going to get on the court. So I'll hang up and listen to your call. Love the show. Keep doing a great job, guys.
I think that's a great point. Bill, you brought up a point similar to that earlier during the 6 o'clock. And I think it's an evaluation aspect that they have to have the conversation with Lamont. And I think that's totally fair.
Tim Buckley leaving, I do wonder about that. I think everything's on the table for discussion. And I'll be honest, I was out at Lexington a couple weeks ago for they were honoring our state championship teams. I didn't get to talk to anybody specifically about Cam. I didn't mean to. I got caught up talking to friends and didn't even get to watch Coach Pope's team play Irmo that day, and I wanted to. But so I don't have the answer. I don't know what the issue is, and it is what Jimmy said there. is really interesting because I do wonder about development with these guys. And again, I don't. Preston, let me be clear because this is I love basketball. I don't go around Coach Parrish's team or practice enough to say one way or the other, here's how practice is going. I will admit I was around Frank Martin's program a lot more at practices, learned some creative language, but you saw how things were going, and I don't know what exactly the development process is right now for Cam Scott, where he's at. I think you got to ask where he's at mentally, because this is a challenge for him, Preston. You've seen this when guys come in and they've been praised and they've been really good. He was a star for Lexington. Cam last year obviously took Lexington, and along with several other players, to a state championship. And I know that's tough on him. And we had him here in studio. I know you were out that day when he made his commitment, and he's a phenomenal young man. And I will say this for him, and pay attention to this because I do think this is important. Preston, you've been on the sideline before. Cam is fully engaged in the game. He is cheering on his teammates. He's fully engaged in the huddles. He is not sitting over there sulking, whining, or complaining, at least publicly. And people go, well, you should do it. No offense to him. Remember, we had that with G.G. Jackson.
Right.
We did see that. Cam's not doing that. But I do think he was expected to be a bigger part of this rotation in this team.
Absolutely. And that makes a lot of sense. Development is huge, and I can just bring it back to my ballpark with football. TJ Sanders is about to be a defensive tackle. He's about to be a first or second round pick. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's about to be a first or second round pick that coincides with him working with Travian Robinson for 2 years. I don't know, but I don't think you would have seen that amount of development with the previous defensive line coach that they had on that staff. So I do think coaches play a huge role in taking what's already talent. You're not going to make nothing into something, but taking something there and developing and refining it.
803-404-6100. We'll get to more. I see Gary. I see Hank. We'll get to you. We're a little low on time, and yesterday we struggled hitting our brakes when we told JC there was 30 seconds to go, and then I think we had Coach Rob, right, who pushed us right. So
shout out to Coach Rob, my guy.
So we're going to
if you know Coach Rob, 30 seconds was not going to work.
So we're going to hit the break, and we'll come back, and I'll get to Gary and Hank, and we'll continue on this morning. You're listening to the early game.
Preston here for the good folks at QC Kinetics. Are you tired of dealing with pain? Looking for a solution that doesn't involve surgery, drugs, big expenses, or long recovery time? Well, let me tell you about Shockwave Therapy, and it's available now from the folks at QC Kinetics. Shockwave Therapy is an evidence-based, non-invasive treatment that stimulates your body's natural healing processes. It works by increasing circulation to the affected area and promoting cellular repair. The best part? There's no surgery, no drugs, and absolutely no downtime. Professional athletes have trusted this technology for years. So whether you're recovering from an injury or simply looking to enhance your healing, Shockwave Therapy could be the game-changing solution that you've been waiting for. So schedule your free consultation today at 281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
803-404-6100. Jay from the Interstate kind of agrees with your take. As far as fries, it depends on what I am eating. It changes depending on the meal. It's a symphony, as you said.
It's a symphony. It's like a team. It all has to work together. When you want certain things with certain things. And this particular establishment, I fear, may be messing with a winning formula. Winning, but maybe not Super Bowl winning. And that's the thing. I do think there's room for improvement. Just wonder, this is a major decision. It's a major decision.
I have reached out to the Gunner kids also. I'm not sure that they were aware of this. I'll get to their answers later. Let's get to the phone lines, though. People discussing men's basketball this morning. Let's get to Gary, who wants to weigh in on the game last night. Gary, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
Morning, guys. How you doing? Well, first thing, I got to go with waffle cut and straight fries for like 1A, 1B.
Okay.
Just kind of depends on what you're eating. But talking about the development, I think that's a pretty good and heavy conversation to have from the differences between last year and this year. I think the issue is we had veteran bigs that were able to score, and I think now that you just have Pringle and Murray Bowles out there, and Bozeman for Don, he's a pretty good high energy defensive guy, but offensively is, for lack of a better term, just lacking altogether. I think the development will come. We got to remember that, Lamont Paris recruited and coached a guy by the name of Frank Kaminsky. So I think we got to, just give things a little bit more time, and I think these guys will get there. And as far as his coaching does work, these guys, they're going to find a way to win. If we find a way to lose eventually, we will find a way to win one of these games. Frank Martin, second to last year, they only won 4 conference games, and the total win shares that year was only 6. They only won 6 all year. We already got 10. I don't think this is a sky is falling conversation, but it is bad, for lack of a better term. But we will find a way to win these games. I got faith in it. I think the new AD, has made a great point that instead of just running guys out the door, which I don't think he was planning on doing it anyway. But instead of running guys out the door, let's see what we can do to build around, because football gets a lot of the money, and men's basketball gets his share. Don Staley is doing wonders with whatever she's getting to recruit these girls and to keep them in state and get them from coming out of state. We just got to give things a little bit more time. It's only year 3, and if we were losing these conference games by a wide margin, I would see the cause for pause. But it's not that. Guys just got to execute and do things that they're supposed to do on the floor. Thanks for the call, guys.
Appreciate the phone call. Real quick, one thing he talked about player development. Jordan Butler is another guy, transfer from Missouri. He's in his second year. And we got a phone call the other day about Jordan and asked about him in the post, or told us that Lamont should play him in the post more. I can't remember the exact phrase of it. I knew that this stat was going to be a little skewed. I didn't realize how bad it was going to be. Jordan Butler has taken 19 shots this year. 19 shots. 19 shots. He's taken 19 shots. Do you know how many are from three-point range?
Over half?
18. And I say that because, again, you don't have – and this is part of it. This is on Lamont Paris, and he'll tell you that. He's the one that recruits these kids, and you got to land them. You got to land them. But I say this because you don't have that B.J. Mack. And I don't know if Colin – and this is to player development that we're talking a little bit about. I don't know if Colin Murray Boyles has developed like they thought to take that B.J. Mack role. Colin Murray Boyles has shot 17 threes, by the way, one less than Jordan Butler. Colin Murray Boyles has shot 17 threes. And I'd say this, did he shoot one last night? He's now shot 19 threes. Those stats were through the first 20 games, not 21. Colin Murray Boyles has now shot 19 threes on the season. But you don't have that facilitator in B.J. Mack. Let's get to the phone lines one more time here before we hit the top of the hour. Hank wants to weigh in. Hank, how you doing? What's on your mind this morning?
Hey, fellas, I'm doing all right. Yeah, I think a couple of things I listened to with that aspect director. that he mentioned was sitting down and talking about the talent situation in the NIL. And I think it's less of an indictment on Lamont and more of a looking at it from an athletic standpoint, athletic department standpoint. You know, when you hear that conversation and you hear a conversation that came out of the board meeting the other day, I think he's more looking at if, you know, are we doing the things for the men's basketball to keep, like, let's say Michi Johnson left and he went to Ohio State. But are we doing stuff to keep some pieces who could be developed for the future? Because when people talk about the development, you know, Cam Scott coming on, he's a freshman. And one of the things that he's struggled with other than being sick is the man-to-man defense, because he didn't play a lot of man-to-man. And a lot of basketball coaches I know in town talked about that was going to be a struggle because played a lot of 2-3 zone in high school. And if you haven't done it and you don't pick it up quick, it's an issue. So I think Donati's probably talking more about, he knows he got a good coach, but we have to do kind of what the football team is doing now. Football team has made a concerted effort to not just let people walk out the door. And in the first couple of years of the portal, you know, we kind of wasn't paying attention and people would leave. So
appreciate the phone call, Hank. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, and it's all on the table. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100, whether you want to weigh in on crinkle fries or an establishment making a change to fries, we're open to that, and certainly talking a lot of South Carolina basketball this morning, coming off of last night's 71-60 loss. We'll get back into some more things Jeremiah Donati said, including the extensions on Dawn Staley and Shane Beamer. Hour 3 on the way.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, it's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, give you a free quote for any job, and if they do the job, they'll take away all the headaches. Now, if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. We say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
We do have a report of an accident, Highway 378 near Lower Richland Boulevard. Also, I-26 eastbound at Harbison Boulevard. And Kaufman Road near Presley Street, a report of an accident there. Beautiful forecast on the way, much more spring-like. 69 today, windy and warm. 67 tomorrow, maybe a couple clouds rolling in. Friday, a high of 75 with some late afternoon or evening showers. Certainly not going to wash out your weekend because that will all get cleared up, and we'll be in the mid-60s with sunshine throughout the weekend. 44 currently on 107.5 The Game.
Really fun. First 2 hours this morning, just from a sports talk standpoint of debating things, and appreciate all the interaction via our text line or via the phone lines this morning. 803-404-6100. Reminder, tomorrow and Friday, Preston and I will be out at Pro Swing out on Forest Drive, and you can come and hang out with us. But they've got their first annual Pro Swing Golf Tournament coming up. You still got time to register today. You can call out there, 803-528-1617. Again, it's 803-528-1617. 4708 Forest Drive is where we will be tomorrow hanging out. $150 for a two-man team. You can set up your tee time, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Food will be included. It's $150 for a two-man team. Break that down, divide it by two. That's $75 per person. You can win $1,000 for first place, $750 for second, or $500 for third. Also, we'll be drawing Gamecock baseball season tickets just 17 days away from first pitch, maybe 16 now. Might be 16 days. But we'll be drawing Gamecock season baseball tickets that someone could win just for registering for the tournament. Call today and get registered if you haven't already, 803-528-1617. And again, Preston and I will be out there tomorrow and Friday. We'll get some swings in as well, Preston.
15 days officially to baseball, by the way.
Is it 15?
15.
17 is, I said it earlier in the show, 17 until the Daytona 500 and the official start of our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. 3 straight for Reggie, is that right?
I'd have to look. Sure, 2.
Definitely 2, and I'm terrified that it might be 3. Reggie, you want to know how excited Reggie was? You want to know what this means now? And thank you to Tracy and Laurel Corley. We've got our trophy, and we'll get it. Reggie texted me the other day, said he'd bring it back. I said, no, it's yours. Keep it on the television. It's yours for a year. Celebrate it. Put it on the newscasts and everything. It means so much now. Reggie came to stop what occurred last year where I didn't get the trophy to the award center to get it engraved. Reggie did it himself. Reggie came and got it and took it.
He's like, enough's enough.
Yeah.
I'll put my name on here at least twice.
That's right.
Get it updated.
So Preston will go for his first ever championship. I believe I'll be going for number 3, and Jen will be going for her first ever. Josh will be going for number 1, and Reggie will be going for number 4 straight. So that's coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. Look forward to that. We will have Josh Harris on tomorrow to get you ready because we've got the Clash at Bowman Gray this weekend. So NASCAR. Not officially back, but like the preseason this coming Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Some goodness is starting in.
So we're turning the corner here to the month of February. Again, a reminder, we will also be out at Pro Swing tomorrow. Again, come by and hang out in the morning if you're out and about. 4708 Forest Drive, Pro Swing out here in Columbia, the first annual golf tournament. So we've been talking men's basketball here, development this morning. A lot of y'all are weighing in this morning. One texter completely gets it. because we've also been talking French fries. Carl gets it this morning. Men's basketball is like the curly fry. We all know they exist, but until the product gets better, we are always going to choose the better option, like women's basketball and waffle fries.
Ooh, throw some opinion on that one, too. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's a curly fry enthusiast. They may answer back if you want to speak up for curly fries.
We're going to play this game in just a little while. Chris weighs in. At least South Carolina basketball is not Georgetown hoops.
There we go. Now you're talking.
The Hoyas scored 41 points for the game last night. Their opponent had 47 in the first half. That was St. John's, by the way. Rick Pitino in St. John's.
My guy. Thank you for your contribution.
Scott weighs in. Men's Gamecock basketball defense is doing better. The offense looks confused and cannot find open shots. And Preston, off air this morning, we talked about this. They mentioned on the broadcast last night the stat in particular. South Carolina has not yet hit 70 points this season in their 8 conference games. They got to 35, and the announcer was like, well, they're halfway there. I got a feeling they'll get there tonight. They don't get there.
Yeah, he said they were halfway there. The only problem is they were halfway through the second half. I was like, I don't think the math is going to – I don't feel a scoring burst coming from this team. But to that point, I think there was one point in the first half where – they had an 0-for-6 stretch on offense, 0-for-6, and they also had 9 turnovers. I believe there was still 8 minutes left in the still was like 7 minutes left to go in the first half, and I think that encapsulated what we've seen offensively from this team this year.
Yeah, and that is part of it here when you look at the statistics and what South Carolina's done. We mentioned this a couple weeks ago, Preston, going into I can't remember what game it was, but South Carolina was dead last and not really close in terms of.
Yeah, they were 5 points away from the next team.
5 points away from the next team, and they aren't really close. Now, defensively, they're 9th in the league, giving up 68.9 points per game, but they're still dead last in the league. And again, so far in conference play, have yet to be able to score 70 points in a game.
Yeah. If you're looking for a silver lining, I do think them being that high in defense is still an indicator that they are still executing a defensive game plan, that they are still playing with effort and intensity on the defensive side of the ball. So I do think if you are looking for a silver lining, I do think that's something that you can hang your hat on.
For the season, the entire season, all 21 games, South Carolina is averaging right at 70 points, 70.4 points per game. Tennessee, again, the next closest, and they are averaging 75 points per game. So almost a 5-point difference between South Carolina being dead last and Tennessee being next to last. And but we'll play a little bit of a game this morning here of At Least We Ain't, because there is some to break down. Jen, I tell you what, though, let's listen to a little bit of Lamont Paris from last night. This is clip number 7, familiar territory, but he's talking about the same culprit, which is the turnover. 17 turnovers last night, as Craig on our live stream pointed out, 93 turnovers in the last 5 games. Here's Lamont Paris after the game.
Well, we find ourselves in, unfortunately, a familiar territory with a similar culprit in terms of we turned the ball over 17 times. We gave up 11 second chance points. And those things impact the game. They just do. I'd like to live in a world where you could do those things and still have a great chance to win, but that's not reality. And so we have to figure a way to stop turning the ball over. Whether that's a change in what we're doing offensively, too many decisions. It's not as much decision. Sometimes it is. I think sometimes it's just a guy crawls into us and he really impacts our ability individually to complete a play that, over the years I have considered to be a pretty garden variety normal play. And so we have to get better at that. We spend a lot of time at practice passing and catching, probably more than 95% of teams in the country, I would say. But it's got to translate over to the games. So,
what do you hear there? I'm trying also to decide. We've talked about this, the tone, the attitude of Lamont Paris when he speaks. We enjoy it. We really enjoy hearing him talk. I go back to that first game after the North Florida game and even subsequent games following that, where you just, to me, Preston, and again, I'm speaking for me. I'm not speaking for Preston or Jen or anybody here at 107.5 The Game. early in the season, I got the impression this was a coach who like looked at this team and was like, "Ooh, it's like you go to fix a meal and you realize you don't have the right. You got ingredients, and they're supposed to fit with what you want to do, but maybe they're not the right ingredients that you need. Maybe you've got a different kind of cooking oil than the one you need. You've got a different kind of meat than you're going to make a meal, but and it felt like early in the season to me, Preston, that's why I kind of asked for you to read between the lines a little bit on this with Lamont and hearing him talk, because he's honest, but he also is not a guy that is going to openly throw his guys under the bus, but it does feel of a coach who early in the season recognized significant flaws, and he's now seeing them come to fruition.
Well, I think when you heard him say that idea that they're not able to execute, and his phrase was garden variety basketball plays. And you remember last week we got into my fun discussion about the pocket pass.
Right.
Those are things that you take for granted them being able to do at this level. So even when he's trying to get to advanced levels in his offense or in his offensive system, if they can't do the base level, or if they're not, I don't know if can't or not, whichever one it is, if they're not able to do those things, then nothing else really matters. And when you're as a coach, if you're spending a majority of time at practice on low-level fundamentals, then it's going to be very, very difficult. And then when they're not executing that in the game, it's even more. So he sounds like he's frustrated for sure. And he sounds like a coach who is trying to figure out a way to get his point across, and he's not. It seems like he's landing on deaf ears right now.
803-404-6100. So then we've asked, kind of, do you make a change just to make a change, like a local establishment has done with their French fries? They say they heard the feedback of the people. It's like Lamont Paris saying, I'm hearing the feedback of the fans. We're 0-8. I need to make a change just to make a change. I want to stick to doing it my way anymore, the way that has gotten us to the top or close to the top. And so we've asked you, what do you think about this local establishment changing their French fries, changing their fries? And then we asked you, what kind of fries do you prefer? Ron from Lake Marion apologized. First off, he apologized. He says, late to the show. Apologize.
It's okay.
My mama's hand-cut fries, fried golden brown in lard.
Oh, come on. That's a cheat code. Can't bring your mama into this.
Another texter says, place whole potato in the fry cutter, straight into the oil, finish off with salt. There's your seasoning somebody mentioned. I believe that was Jimmy earlier. Mm-hmm. And instead of big, nasty burger. A couple of y'all also weighing in hot sauce Ross. I like curly fries okay, but more for their ability for sauces to adhere to them.
Okay, all right.
It's hot sauce Ross.
But again, all of this is talking about the symphony. All of this is talking about the teamwork that the fries play in creation of the meal. And as I said,
are they the true glue guy? Because you don't realize they're there, but now that we're making a change, you may realize we're missing a BJ Mack shooting threes and going down low and not being able to jump over a broom, but knowing how to score around the basket.
Exactly, because you don't necessarily want, in this particular instance, in this basket that this establishment makes, I don't know if the fries need to be taking 19 three-pointers like Jordan Butler, right? I don't know if that's their job.
Out of the 18 threes on 19 attempts.
I don't know if that's their job in this situation. Their job may be to be a guy, a glue guy in this situation. I don't know. I'm just a little bit nervous.
So we've got all that out there for you this morning. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in, where Mac does get it. He goes with Arby's curly fries. And it says ball handling, biggest issue in development. Turnovers are what's leading to losing. And one more texter goes with the start the crinkle fries, bench the waffle fries, cut the steak fries.
I'm with you on that one.
There you go.
I am a crinkle fry truther.
Feels like this is a morning where we find out who really is into the show and who's just along for the ride. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family have been the leader, the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Whether it's your home, whether it's your business, you don't want to come and discover a leak. You want your roof to keep your operation dry and running long into the future. And again, doesn't matter whether it's your business or your home. We got some spring weather coming up. You know, we get those heavy storms here in the state of South Carolina. So whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Aiken, Augusta this morning, maybe Charleston or Greenville, it's time for you to call Mid-State Roofing, who is ready to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee ready to help you with a maintenance contract. So give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You can visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com. Don't let yourself have a leak. But if you do, if you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
Kaufman Trail near Presley Street, an accident there. Also, I-26 eastbound at Harbison Boulevard. Also, an accident reported Johnson Marina Road at Highway 76 and 378 near Lower Ridgeland Boulevard. 69, windy and warm. That's what we're looking at today. 67 tomorrow, 75 on Friday. Maybe some late afternoon or evening rain. That'll clear out to give us a great weekend of mid to upper 60s. Right now, though, a little bit on the chillier side, 44 at 107.5. The Game.
803-404-6100, where we are covering everything this morning, everything you would expect from the early game. We have got you covered here as we kind of break down both the basketball team, the men's basketball team. Reminder, Dawn Staley tonight, Carolina calls right here at 107.5 The Game after Jay and Elijah on the postgame show. Dawn Staley will have Carolina calls, and then they will be back in action on Sunday, 11:30 pregame, 12 o'clock tip. And if you're going, go early. It'll be a packed house. They are honoring Asia Wilson. We'll try and get some details on that to let you know more tomorrow and Friday, just exactly how that's going to go down. But Dawn Staley's team, obviously 20-1 now, undefeated in conference. On the flip side of that, Preston, you got the men's team. And let me reiterate, because going into the season, I was excited. And this is where we are at now with the end of January. We go into really the final month of the season. You go to about mid-March in the SEC tournament. But I was excited to see this team, but I was excited to see what they could build upon from last year. I didn't necessarily think that going in, when I looked at all the ingredients, all the pieces of the puzzle, I didn't think that they were an NCAA tournament team. They would need some things to go right. I looked at the difficulty, the strength of the SEC, and went, wow, this conference could be a lot of fun this year. It's been a lot of fun. The one thing, though, that I hate and that I don't feel like you can have is to backslide to a losing overall record. An overall losing record. I feel like even if they were going to finish, there's 10 games left. They're 10-11. They were going to play 31 games. If you were, 16-15, 17-14, 18-13, and you don't make the postseason, but at least you keep a winning record. That's in jeopardy right now. It's not impossible to get it, but that to me is what you can't, kind of going from 8-5 with Shane Beamer to 5-7 with Shane Beamer, year 2 to 3.
And again, I guess I'm being silver lining guy again. Yes, that happened, and we were down on the season, and then look what happened the next year. So I think when you look at these down years, you have to start, and that's why I think these questions about development and Lamont Paris and his staff are fair, because that is going to be the anchor that's going to get this team through this down year, and it's going to be what Lamont Paris and his staff can learn from this situation and make adjustments to next year, as the same way that Shane Beamer did from his year 3 to 4.
And look, last year when they were when South Carolina basketball was succeeding, and it was fun to follow and fun to discuss, you and I were saying, enjoy this, because it is a year-to-year basis. And I will use the same sentence this year. Yeah, this year stinks. This year's no fun. They're 10-11, and the month of February, yes, we're probably going to be discussing more baseball. But it is a year-to-year thing. This thing is fixable within a year. You have Eli Ellis coming in, who I'm very interested to see. Really interested to see. I'm not as high on him. I think he's a good player, mind you, and I think he can play at this level. But I'm also not, in talking with people, as high on him as others. I'm interested to see how he fits Lamont Paris's system. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see how his athleticism holds up against the athleticism. Not that the Overtime Elite League isn't, but there is a step forward. Ask Cam Scott. I get it, going from Lexington to SEC, going from Overtime Elite to SEC is different. But I'm not as high on him as some. Now, I do think he's a really good player and a nice piece to the puzzle. But if you're like, well, Eli Ellis is coming in next year, all our problems are solved, you might have another thing coming. He does have some really burly power forwards in Hayden Simeon and EJ. I got to go back and look at EJ's last name now to say it right. I was about to say EJ Jenkins, the former tight end. But you've got those, and then you've got a 6'7". And look, no offense to him, but he's a string bean right now. He's going to have to get with Scott Greenwald, 6'7", 175-pound Grant Polk, who's a shooter, who's out of the D.C. area. So you're going to have to hit the transfer portal hard. And that's how you change it. That's how you make it a one-year deal.
And again, we can maybe draw those parallels between what we're experiencing this year and what we experienced last year on the football side of things. Shane Beamer and staff hit the transfer portal. They hit on Rocket Sanders, unexpectedly hit on a Bronco Nagurski winner and Kyle Kennard. That was not right. That wasn't part of the plan. So these things can change, and they can change quickly. That's why I think it's most important to understand and think as a fan base that you have the right person in the position of leading the program, so that even if it's a down year, you still feel confident in the coach's plans for the future.
Yeah, 803-404-6100. E.J. Walker. I wanted to say E.J. Jenkins. I wanted to say E.J. Manuel. But E.J. Walker, 6'8", 230-pound power forward out of the state of Kentucky, out of Lloyd High School there. 803-404-6100. All right, Jeremiah Donati yesterday. Now, some of this is really interesting, Preston. Let's hear him. This is, we talk about NIL.
Nerd alert.
Yeah, this is sporty sports. If you've had enough of the French fry discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Good news for you.
Yeah, here you go.
We're about to go back in it, and then if you like the French fry discussion, good news. I'm coming back to that. But let's listen. This is federal help necessary going forward. This is Jeremiah Donati yesterday on the postgame show with Jay and Elijah, and here's some things he said about getting federal help for colleges moving forward with some of the things going on.
I got news for you. These issues are going to continue to pile on and compound until we get some federal help. And I'm not asking the federal government to run college sports. We're asking for help from an antitrust protection, from maybe even collective bargaining. There's got to be a way we can make rules without being accused of colluding. And, these are just kind of basics. Federal preemption, so we don't have 50 state laws and 50 attorney generals that are trying to outbid the next. I mean, these are existential threats to not only football, but to all of college athletics because of the downstream effect. So if we don't get that, I got news for you. There will be another lawsuit. This is, by the way, this lawsuit, for those listening at home who may not be familiar, there's only a 10-year. Right. It only goes out 10 years. Right. There's the great unknown after that. And so my hunch is it's not going to be better. Right. And so this $20.5 million will look like $30+ million by the time you get to 2030 when you just add the 4% every other year. So this is when going back to looking at our business differently, this is a real threat to all of our sports programs and to us here at USC.
No offense to Ray Tanner, but I never heard Ray Tanner talking about the cost going up over years. When Jeremiah Donati's getting into some financial metrics and talking about what it looks like in 2030 and there's a 4% increase, I get what he's saying, but that's why I love this guy, and that's why I think this guy is going to be ultra successful for the university, is because he is a business-minded guy, and you're talking about something here that, Preston, you've got to have your leader of your organization in college sports today fully aware of and know what's going on, and not having to look to the guy to the left and the guy to the right and saying what's coming down. He's got to, Jeremiah Donati himself has to be out in the forefront and telling the people behind him, here's what's coming, here's how we're going to handle it. And I think you hear that with him.
Yeah, he's obviously plugged in. Yes, it's a very different tone of the conversation than Coach Tanner, which is the way the industry is going. I would encourage anybody, if you're on X, to follow Mitt Winter. He does a great job of covering some of these issues as far as that's concerned. We could do a whole show on the concept of federal help for NIL. I vehemently disagree with Jeremiah Donati or any athletic director who's asking for federal help because he mentioned the concept of collective bargaining. Well, you can easily collective bargain with the athletes. The federal government does not need to step in for that. But that's a whole longer conversation, which is worth having and will need to be had in this discussion of NIL plus revenue shared, which is imminent in college athletics.
We'll get into a little bit more of what he had to say, some NIL alongside revenue sharing as well. But when we come back, we're going to play one of our favorite games.
More of my speed here.
We're going to more of our speed, more
fun,
more French fry discussion, and we'll play a game. Weigh in 803-404-6100. Hey, I know South Carolina basketball is 0-8, but at least we ain't. Is available in this segment or in the next segment. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner.
Hey, you know what? Before we go to break, because I know we only have a few seconds, if somebody's interested in going to the Texas A&M game, we have a family pack of 4 tickets. The game is Saturday night, 8:30. Family pack of 4 tickets to see Texas A&M, 803-404-6100, caller number 6.
There you go. Caller 6. Go to the game, 8:30. Free game to go to. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, and First Palmetto Bank. First Palmetto Bank, locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands. And so as we go into the month of February, we wrap up the month of January, and maybe now some of your thoughts move towards refinancing your home, maybe purchasing a new home. Well, the first thing you need to do is see what interest rates are available to you. And the guy to call with First Palmetto Bank, Jacob Crowder. He's the mortgage guru for a reason. Helped me just a few years ago put my condo on Lake Murray, get the great interest rate that I got, and helped me tremendously through the buying process. He'll do the exact same thing for you. And for you to find out some of the incredible products that Jacob and First Palmetto Bank have, it's time for you to give him a phone call. 803-719-1005. See what interest rates are available, what plans, what products. You never know what money could be yours. 803-719-1005. Call the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, today.
And taking a peek at those traffic conditions out there this morning, we still are working Kaufman Road near Presley Street, I-26 eastbound at Harbison Boulevard, Highway 378 near Lower Richland Boulevard, and Johnson Marina Road at Highway 76. Windy and warm today, 69 for the high, 39 that overnight low. Tomorrow, 67 with an increase of clouds, 75 for Friday. Maybe some showers rolling in the afternoon or evening, but clear right now, just a little bit on the cooler side. Currently 43 on 107.5 The Game.
Reminder, go to 1075thegame.com. Click on the contest tab, and you can be a part of Gamecock Traditions over-under contest. This week's contest, Colin Murray Boyles, over or under 8.5 rebounds against Texas A&M on Saturday night. We just gave those tickets away. Congratulations to the winner of that. And we will have our Garnet Traditions over-under contest. Again, today, tomorrow, whatever, Friday. Go to 1075thegame.com, click on contest, and you pick the over-under of the week. And you could win a Gamecock Traditions gift card. This week, again, the selection, Colin Murray Boyles, over or under 8.5 rebounds against Texas A&M. Preston, I would take the under on that.
We'll see. What did the numbers say? 5 last game? What did he do? We have to look and see what he did against them last time.
Here, I'll tell you real quick because I got it right here in front of me. Colin Murray Boyles on the season, averaging 9.1 rebounds per game.
Interesting line.
I'd be interested. I'll see if I can dig up SEC play here from my conference games. Conference games real quick. Colin Murray Boyles. This is how Vegas works. Conference games. Colin Murray Boyles averaging 8.7.
Nice.
And the over-under set at 8.5. Nice. So there you go. I'd still go under. 803-404-6100. Shout out real quick. Family on family violence last night. Cooper Jones, son of Chad Jones, nephew of Brett Jones, Dutch Fork coach Cooper Jones, last night for River Bluff. I was talking about Lexington earlier, and River Bluff led by my former high school teammate and good buddy, Ben Lee. Cooper last night knocking down a three-pointer at the buzzer, essentially, I think about 3 seconds left, to knock off his uncle.
Oh, that's nice.
I don't know if that affects your Christmas gift or your birthday gift, but River Bluff over Dutch Fork last night in high school basketball. We'll have Chris Deering on Friday for our high school highlights of the week, but I'll give a shout-out to Cooper Jones last night for knocking down the three-pointer for the win over his uncle. How does that work? Does the uncle just... You get scratched off if you knock off. Did you ever play? Did you ever have a game against a relative?
No, that's really interesting. I don't know how to. I don't know how that works out for you. Depends on previous relations. There's a lot could go into that.
Brett's son Houston at Presbyterian, and then his brother Chad Jones, knew both of them from coaching me at Lexington. Chad's son Cooper again with the three. Congratulations to Ben Lee and to River Bluff. A good win for them last night, and they're in first place in 5A over there at River Bluff. All right, let's play a little bit of At Least We Ain't. You got a couple teams here lined up to throw at me. I'm ready.
I got a couple of contenders for At Least We Ain't. So, yes, we are 0-8 in the SEC.
Yes, we are.
However, at least we ain't 1-6 with a high-profile, quote-unquote, legendary coach who the game might have passed by. And who are we talking about, Bill?
The one and only $7 million per season man, John Calipari.
So can they qualify for At Least We Ain't Arkansas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. He showed up, and he's got some McDonald's All-Americans. He went and stole Tennessee's big guy, Adu. That roster is not 1-6 material. Arkansas's got a proud basketball tradition. This was it. They were set to take the next step. They were going to become big time in SEC basketball. And they're 1-6. So at least, yes, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Now, if you want to do, I wish we were there history, okay, I'm with you there.
No.
But we're playing.
It's a one-year deal.
At Least We Ain't on January 29th, Arkansas,
okay.
John Calipari.
All right.
By the way, the game's passed him by.
And you think that's
I think the game passed him by a couple of years ago at Kentucky.
So he was just being buoyed up by talent?
Yes.
Okay. That's a really interesting concept. I want to come back to that maybe later as we see how that season progresses. Because, again, I think the thing we're talking about with our basketball squad is nobody's happy with this year, but we don't feel as if we're not having those types of conversations about our head coach. Yes. Now, yes, we are 0-8 in the conference, correct? However, we ain't 0-9 in the conference, coming off of a Final Four trip just a mere 2 years ago, Bill. Do you know which program I am referring to now?
I don't know if At Least We Ain't applies here, but you're going to refer to the Miami Hurricanes.
At least we ain't the Miami Hurricanes, Bill.
Here's the only reason.
Okay.
I will tell you that is because when your coach leaves, there's always hope for the future, right? Blind hope, blind optimism doesn't mean anything, but you are correct in that currently the Miami Hurricanes, who have had a pretty good basketball history. If you hadn't really followed, they were doing good under Jim Larinaga. They went out and bought a whole bunch of players and were really happy. By the way, you mentioned it. They've made the Final Four there in 2012. In 2013, they were in the Final Four in 2013. I mean, you look at it, they've gone on a run of NCAA tournament appearances this decade. But the only reason I would say no, is because, and this is not a shot at Lamont Paris, but it's, you know how it is when you're a fan base and you're 0-9, you're like, fine, we stink this year, but that next guy's about to take us to the top. I don't know who it is, but
so they have the excitement of a coaching search ahead of them.
Yeah, their season's over.
Well, now this might be the most controversial one.
Okay.
Yes, we are 0-8. No, we haven't scored more than 70 points in a conference game. I hear it. Everybody, I hear what you're saying. But how does that compare to a blue blood who is now 7th in the conference and lost their most recent game to Pitt? Do you know who I'm referring to?
North Carolina is in purgatory.
Okay. Can we qualify for at least we ain't?
And here's the thing about this.
Sorry, Tammy.
Here's
walking on
Murray Colvin
walking on thin ice.
Yeah,
here.
and Murray yesterday with our United Way guys. Here's the thing about this, because North Carolina's got tradition. Yeah, I wish we had the tradition, but in 2025, North Carolina is in basketball purgatory. They ain't Duke.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't Kansas. Quite frankly, they ain't Clemson.
Ooh. Okay.
They're just there. They're 13-9. They're 6-4. They're not national championship contenders to where you go good. Good things. They did just get a top 10 commitment over the weekend, but that very rarely holds. Hubert Davis is on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
You want a scorching hot take?
Let's do it.
I'm not sure the North Carolina basketball job is what it once was.
Okay.
I'm not sure that job that university is built entirely around women's soccer and basketball and men's basketball. Their women's soccer teams are I think they just won another national championship. But I'm not sure.
Also, let me ask you this. Does Hubert get a chance to hang around a little bit longer because of the distraction that is Chapel Bill? And maybe he's given some hope, a distraction for the fan base and a little bit of hope, even though we know basketball is number one, obviously, but maybe that distracts people a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. No, I think because they're the pro. I mean, I know they were in a Final Four here just in 2022. They were national runner-up in 2016. They won the national championship in 2017. I've watched this kind of continue to evolve. Duke has survived the Krzyzewski to Shire hand-me-down, right? They survived it. Shire's got Duke. He's getting Cooper Flagg. He's getting all these great guys. The Knoppel kid I really, really like, Con Knoppel. North Carolina didn't survive Williams to Hubert Davis thing. And Hubert had that great run in 2022 and got him all the way to the championship game. But Preston, I'm not sure that job is what it was.
Well, I think there's two. I think that's an interesting position when you talk about blue bloods, because obviously somebody brought up the idea of Georgetown, who's 4-6 in the conference. I wouldn't want to change positions with them as a program. And then we brought up the player that we lost to Villanova, who was in a coaching change also. They're mid-level, 5-5.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that brings me to this. We all laughed, but the man can coach. St. John's, 9-1. Rick Pitino, 18-3. On their way.
Yeah. And yes, blew the doors off of Georgetown last night in that game. I was trying to look real quick to see where St. John's is listed in the most recent bracketology. But, Slick Rick Pitino getting it done. We'll come back. We'll put a wrap on this. Crinkle fries against the world? Yeah, we'll figure it out. It's the early game.
Pressing here for Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, it's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job. Now, if you're at
at 8 p.m. Food will be included. First place of the tournament will win $1,000. Second place, $750, and $500 for third place. We'll also have a drawing for Gamecock baseball season tickets that someone could win just by registering. Call Pro Swing today and get your tee time registered, 803-528-1617, and we look forward to being out there tomorrow.
It's funny how thoughts get triggered. We had the person earlier in the text said that their pet peeve was inaugural versus first annual. I understand what he's saying. This is the inaugural event because it's the first.
Right.
There is no first annual. It has to be second annual.
Right.
No such thing as a first annual. And the reason
that makes sense.
The reason why this was triggered in me because I remember one time in my young days, I told my father that it was my first annual All-Star game, and he said, "You don't know if you're going to make another All-Star game." Cut me down the sides very quickly.
Dad is very smart.
He was very correct. So yeah, I do understand what he's saying now.
Well, so the inaugural tournament gets going about this time tomorrow, 8 a.m. We'll be out at Pro Swing to hang out there, and hope you, even if you're not playing, stop by and say hello. 4708 Forest Drive tomorrow, where we will speak with Josh Harris as well for our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. Corley Pool Solutions back on board as the official sponsor of our NASCAR Pick'em, and as Jen hands me the sheet here and we look it over, look, I can be there. I can be there with Lamont Paris. In 2022, I was dead last. Actually, in 2021, I won the whole thing. 2022, dead last. 2023, I was second. Made a good put. I actually led for most of the year, and Reggie caught me. Is that 2023? That's when I led most of the year, and Reggie caught me? I believe that's right. Might have been 20, something like that. 2023, though, I finished second. Last year, dead last again.
Hot seat.
Gotta hit the portal.
Got to make some changes.
Got to bring in some new advisors, a new research team.
Just from the outside looking in, is the Denny Hamlin strategy going to survive another year?
I'm not sure. Some interesting changes.
Just from the outside looking in.
I will say this: the only reason I got back to being and it was dead last. This shows you how bad last year was. And I finished 5 points behind Josh, 8 points behind Jen. I finished 13 points behind Preston, and 18 points out behind Reggie. Was the Denny Hamlin strategy at the very end? Made it respectable.
So it wasn't even really making picks. It was just, not being educated, just saying, I'll take Hamlin and hope.
So you mean the guy that wins a lot. Yeah, that was basically it.
Much like Lamont, you're going to run your system.
I may have to. We have to. We have to analyze it all. And so, but we'll speak with Josh Harris. Again, thank you to Tracy and Laurel Corley. They're back. Corley Pool Solutions, the official sponsor of the Checkered Flag Challenge in 2025. And we will try and put a stop to Reggie Anderson. I won 2 of the first 3. Reggie has won the last 3. Reggie, by the way, finished in those 2. Reggie, I think we got to check.
Are we putting Reggie on like the same alert as the Chiefs? Are we tired of him?
Reggie went in 2020 and 2021. He finished dead last both years.
PEDs?
Something suspicious about that. Crinkle fries have been the discussion today about a local establishment changing their fries on this coming Friday. Some people, okay. There's not been a resounding good. This is a good change.
That's what I'm saying.
It's been like, or as Brad said, he stopped by and told him he was not a fan. A couple of y'all have weighed into. So then that brought us to a larger discussion. Fries. And Grayson weighs in. Crinkle fries are the Nickelback of fries.
Watch your mouth. Relax. You took out 2 people with one stone there. Some Nickelback fan called us straight just now for no reason.
Jeff weighs in. Crinkle fries for the win, since Fisk fries from the fair with extra salt and vinegar are not an option. But there's no such thing as a bad fry as long as they are actually fried.
I'm on that team.
A couple of y'all have also weighed in. One texter just reminded me North Carolina was the number 1 seed last year. It's just a down year. They're not done.
At least we.
So a lot there this morning. It's been a lot of fun. And then I'll finish with this. The co-pilot says the French fry change is a conspiracy theory. The company, the establishment, will come back in a few months and start selling the classic fries for 20% more.
Ooh, I like your thinking.
Big Fry out there looking out. Y'all have a great rest of the day.
Appreciate y'all.
We'll see you from Pro Swing tomorrow. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where their goal is to keep your operation dry and running. Whether it's your home, whether it's your business, Mid-State Roofing is there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is exactly why they have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry for 30 years because of the way they treat their customer, and that's what stands out. Customer service, being there for you to help with the maintenance contract, your home or your business, to keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So if you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee. And that, is going to keep your operation dry and running. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. Give them a phone call today. 803-356-1919.